Something that's very common in autistic people is something called rejection sensitivity dysphoria, which essentially is just being very sensitive to rejection, right? And for the longest time, I didn't think that I experienced this because I thought to myself that I thought very literally about it. Like, I thought, well, if someone like rejects me, like in a relationship kind of way, or like in a romantic kind of way, like, I'm not really bothered by that. Like, I'm like, okay, whatever, they aren't interested, move on. Or if you get like rude customer service or something, I don't know. I thought very literally, like, you're very literally getting rejected. Really, I just hadn't done that much research on it. But like, I recently have realized that this is something that quite literally controls my entire life. I wrote about it a little bit, so I'll just like read that to you guys. One of like the main examples that has been reoccurring throughout my life is that I don't talk out issues that arise in relationships with people, and instead I'm just like cutting them out of my life because I conclude that they're toxic and harmful to me in some way because like they responded in a way that was like hurtful or whatever. And I do this, I believe now, because it's easier to believe that they are the ones with personal issues rather than it possibly being me that has the issues and them responding in a hurtful manner in response to that, which doesn't make them a good person, but that could not just be because they're a shitty person, because they're just responding to something that I did, which is something you could talk out. Like, this is why it is so hard for me as an autistic person to maintain friendships. It's because of my rejection sensitivity dysphoria. It's executive dysfunction does play a part in this, but I think genuinely so much of it is just rejection sensitivity. This shit has been like almost ruining my life lately because I get so avoidant of talking to people and reaching out to people because I worry that something will happen over the call or over the interaction that will be rejecting of me. It sends me into this spiral of just overthinking of whether these people who are my family that I've known my whole life, like, they like me or not, or if they just tolerate me, or if I am the biggest burden for them to bear, and it makes me isolate myself further and further. And literally, I understand why it's called a dysphoria because, like, it completely, like, makes me perceive everything differently, wrongfully, like, incorrectly. Like, that's not real life. My family loves me. Like, this is how I know that PTSD affects us as autistics so much more than that regular Joe, because like I'll remember like some moment where I felt, I guess, really rejected, and like that sticks with me, and I'll just like remember it like casually during the day, and it will just trigger those thoughts. And I don't usually get sent into a spiral, but I think about those things throughout the day, every day, like casually. Like, I think, honestly, I don't know, like my brain just has me think about them sometimes. And so it's like a casual reminder. So while it's not this big thing that happens and sends me into like a whole meltdown, it's a bunch of little things that slowly just convince me over time, like, that I'm not loved. I know that this is fed by trauma and the inherent baseline lack of dopamine in my autistic ADHD brain. The trauma that you go through as a young child, being constantly told how wrong you are, how weird you are, how abnormal you are, how you need to be more normal, you need to be more polite, you need to not be so rude, not be so bossy, etc. And internalizing that you are just wrong, like in every sense. Having a self-esteem and an ego that is completely broken and in the gutter from such a young age. And being highly susceptible to PTSD throughout the rest of my life. Literally, there's not a single way I couldn't have rejection sensitivity. When you add in these concoctions to the mixture, like, you create a person that is literally forced to have rejection sensitivity dysphoria. It's just crazy, and I feel like it's not talked about enough because it literally makes me not reach out, not try to do things, not truly fight for things that I want and deserve for myself, and literally like have a warped reality.